All right, so I told you about how we got through the title, through Rov's kind of creation, the auxiliary characters, the Rabari, some of the themes and whatnot. I guess to expand a little bit on the female dynamic is like most of the women in my I've found women to be very powerful and the opposite of what some others think, I guess. But women are very powerful creatures, and um, I find like too many. I hate when like the hero runs and he grabs her by the hand and pulls her along. I hate all that stuff. Like the seeing eye man. I mean, I hate all that stuff. It just doesn't really map to reality of that experience. So anyway, so not to just belabor a point, but really wanted to make a character that was just an assumption of power. It was presumed. It was assumed. We'll have a whole lot of explaining and whatnot. Um, Now, there's some things that she does there. So I guess we'll talk a little about her actual character, but she's powerful because she is a experiment of blending alien DNA with human DNA. Her muscle mass is different than a traditional humans. Her bone mass is different. She take hits, heal faster metabolism. Her molecular system works faster. The density of her muscles is different than yours or mine. So that explains like her physical nature or whatever. And in terms of like her attitude or personality, maybe again goes back to Smila Sense Snow. I liked it that she was so direct, and she was so Smila Sense Snow. She was so direct, and you have to go back and watch that scene where she grabs the stepmom, and it is so forceful. I wanted that same force and directness and whatnot, and the vulnerability really comes through the daughter. Her one thing that she loves. Um, that's where the vulnerability comes from. Everybody is vulnerable. Everybody should be a little bit vulnerable. I mean, nobody can be a absolute cast iron constantly all the time. I don't think that'd make for an interesting character if she was that way. She's got to have like some humanity, some soft edge somewhere, and that's where that comes from. Other than that, she's pretty hardened. Again, I go back to like the killing of the Asian baker, and so I guess that kind of leads to the killing of Devlin. So it kind of leads back to maybe some more of the tone of it. So like I think if the book, I wrote the book the way I wanted to, and I'm sure there's all kinds of things that the book do that are not traditional, and I don't really care. I figure I don't have any money now, so what does it matter if the book doesn't make me any money? I'm going to write the book I want to see. So the threat of money making is not really a threat. If you don't have any anyway, it doesn't matter. You might as well go ahead and write the book you want. So with the author's prologue, the prologues, and the timelines, and all those kind of things, and then the length of it, whatever, I didn't really give a crap. I mean, it's my book. I wrote totally selfishly the way I want to. Hopefully, people will enjoy it and read it. But at the end of the day, the threat of it not being commercial or something like that has no threat at all. I mean, yeah, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna take money away from me because I wrote a book? No. So like this threat of like, oh, it's not gonna sell, Chris. That's no threat. I ain't got no money now. What does it matter? So I wrote the book the way I wanted to. If you read the author's prologue, which I'm sure you did, RoboCop is a heavy influence on it. The violence, the Star Wars and RoboCop. That's my favorite movies. Number one, Star Wars, 1977, New Hope, and then RoboCop, the original RoboCop. The sequels and the remake don't exist. Uh, Melded together, fantasy meets blood and guts, and Verhoeven. I hope I'm not misquoting. Probably generalizing his quote, but he said like I just showed. He's like, it's not really like he's out to be overt. He's just showing it for what it is. So like if there's blood, you show the blood. If there's a killing, you show the killing. If there's sex, you show the sex. He made Basic Instinct on one end of the spectrum. He made RoboCop on the other, Starship Troopers on the other. So the blood and the sex, because that's the way it is. I mean, in real life, sex is sex. You would have nudity. You would have gyrations and things. In war, Starship Troopers, you have these aliens. They would hack off limbs. They would, heads cut off and blood squirt everywhere. So that kind of saying it's the same mentality as like would approach the violence that way. I mean, if she shoots someone, she shoots something, explode, blood everywhere, heads exploding, whatnot, and but also tried to like mix in some of the really really dark cartoonish humor. One of my favorite scenes in the book is when the guy ejects from the transport and he's zip tied to it, and when the parachute tries to separate from the seat, he can't because he's zip tied himself to the seat, or he's still zip tied to the seat. So he just basically just forces it to tear him to pieces. That's a very, very, very dark humor thing, but I find it very funny. So I try to put in that kind of humor in there as well. But that's where the tone comes from. Is that I Total Recall, Starship Troopers, RoboCop, that tone of the blood, and the violence and whatnot, but meaning that fantasy element of spaceships and stars, other planet and an alien and space stations and things like that. So I want it to be, and plus too, like, so the vision of the future, like I don't really like it when and I said in the prologue, I don't like it when movies say 2089 or year 3000. That's just dumb. It's really stupid. I mean, when I was a kid, 2001, A Space Odyssey, 2001 was this, oh my God, in 2001, we will have all these things. Well, dude, no, that's not how it happens. Like kind of like went from horses to cars. I mean, there was a period of time where they coexisted, horses and cars, right? So like, there's never like a clear line of like, okay, well, we're using spaceships now. Get your car. It doesn't really work that way. There's going to be the archaic and the new are always going to overlap. Digital and analog are going to have overlap, and they still continue to overlap to a large degree. So you just never a clear-cut line. So lasers, for instance, and bullets will overlap each other, right? So starships and helicopters and stuff will overlap. So then I wanted that kind of realism to it. There's not a realistic story in terms of like airlocks to get into this. The hangar opens up and people are freely. It's more like a Star Wars thing, right? Where people are in the hangar and the ship just flies in, the force field like protects it or whatever. This is not that kind of realistic where reality it has some sort of airlock system where the hangar shut down, that comes in, the door shuts, pressurizes or whatever. I didn't want to do that extreme, but realistic in terms of like that overlap of old technology with new technology. That's what I was more interested in, that type of realism. But the violence be completely over the top. And then too, like, and I guess the last thing I'll say tonally is one of the problems with modern movies, and it's very disposable. And you see that somewhat with even the streaming stuff, but movies more so than the streaming stuff. That's the reason I think the streaming stuff has gotten really popular. In all honesty, I mean, Mirov should be a streaming series if it was made into something. That's kind of why I wrote it in the chapters, easily defined chapters and segments. So it could be like compared to a series easier than a movie. But like movies are so disposable, and like the same generic music and like the all those just tonal like music stuff. This is like I tried to like build it where you'd have set pieces and you have like action with beginning, middle, and end, and not just be chaos and stuff. Like the action would build up. So like the to me the centerpiece of the whole story is the attack on the towers. So that attack lasts for like 3 chapters, 4 chapters. It spans several chapters, this whole attack. I tried to build it. And so it has a clear beginning, middle, and end to the attack. And then within it, it's clear defined action that takes place. In my mind, it would be a classical score going. It would not be tonal type stuff, of a synthesizer or digital stuff. It would be John Williams. It would be Die Hard, with a classical score. Die Hard was a direct influence, obviously, on the tower sequence. So, and I think these, I was raised with these movies, so they're obviously like direct influences and stuff. This is Dave. This whole story is a baby born from the '80s movies, somewhat the '90s, but mostly the '80s movies. Star Wars, RoboCop, Die Hard, Predator, all the Aliens, all these movies. So these are all direct influences and stuff, and of course video games as well. Halo and all these things are like influences on this. So the tone matters to me. That's the reason I was so particular to write a author's prologue and to write a timeline and things like that. Like how you view this movie. If you read a political message or a social justice message in the story, that's great, but it's all on you. I'm very specific about how the movie is framed in terms of or the book. I keep saying movie. I'm not an author. I'm a storyteller, and I see this as a movie. So I'm kind of like giving myself away here. God bless authors. I don't pretend to be one of you guys. I just wrote a novel because it was the best instrument I could get used right now to tell the story and get it out there. So I'm humbly in your presence, any author out there that watches this. Cormac McCarthy and Stephen King, I bow to your presence. I am not you guys. I'm jealous of you guys, if anything. Anyway, so how you frame the story is not up to you. It is a melding of RoboCop and Star Wars. It is an overlap of digital and analog, of Star Cruiser and battles, boat, submarine battleship type thing. It's old and new mixing together. That the tones of it are not up to you. It's a very specific tone. That's the reason I wrote the author's prologue. The author's prologue is as much a part of that book as any chapter in that book. It was very, very particular. When you read the book, don't picture a digital score. It's not like I hate all that stuff. It is a John Williams, Alan Silvestrie's, whatever James Horner's score that goes in the movie. It's one of my favorite scenes of all time. Like when Khan meets Kirk. It's such a built-up scene. It was a huge payoff. I try to have these payoffs with these set pieces and these action scenes. I like to build up and then have a payoff. It's something that's not done in traditional storytelling much anymore in terms of like movies and whatnot. So it's just these gigantic action things that you don't even know how you got there half the time, and you don't make sense once you're there. And they go on for forever and ever without end. It's just a mess of shit. I love the Marvel Avengers stuff, but I can't make heads or tails of the big. Tell me, other than Iron Man dying at the end of the last Avengers movie, what else do you really tell you? The best moment is he said Avengers Assemble, and then a fight breaks out, but what happens within the fight is not really distinct. It's just an animation shit show, right? I love those movies. I'm not bashing them. I liked it. I liked the movie, but it's not what I see when it comes to an action scene. It's even with the prequels missed over the original Star Wars trilogy. Definitely the Disney trilogy missed over the original. So it's clear, defined action pieces with payoff. That is very key to the stories. It's key to the story of anything. So anyway, I wanted to get this down on video, all these thoughts, because one of these days I'll forget these things. And I'm trying to get it down now before I do. So I hope you read the book. I hope you like it. I see more books coming. One of these days, hopefully it's a big hit, and then somebody wants to make this into a streaming series, and I can hopefully be involved with that and guide it through there. And I don't know if I'd want to direct it, but definitely want to be in the decision-making room, guiding the whole thing. It's a very specific way you view it. If you view it like an 80s movie, go back and watch Aliens, Terminator, RoboCop, the Star Wars original trilogy, Predator, and then Star Trek 2, and then put this in that, and that's how you view the movie or read the book. So anyway, all right. Well, I hope you like Mirov. That's where it comes from, and hopefully there's more of her stories to tell. All right. Thanks. Bye.